What is up, guys? Pie Muffin here, and we are back with another Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS review. Today we had episode 105, which is entitled Intercept. I've been excited about this episode ever since kind of this season started. I mean, obviously, when the season started, we didn't know what was going to be happening exactly. But once we knew I was the villain, I was very excited to see when Yusaku would find out and kind of what his reaction would be. And honestly, this episode did not disappoint in that regard. So let's just kind of go over things real quick. Obviously, Akira was given a message last episode. That's what kind of left on the cliffhanger. And in this episode, Akira basically gathers all the best duelists he knows right in the beginning. Basically, Takaru and Yusaku were in school. And Soulburner, I'm just going to call him Soulburner. It's so much easier to say than Takaru. Soulburner gets a message from Kusanagi saying that Zaizen wants them all to meet. And this was interesting to Yusaku because just prior, during school, which I still find it hilarious that, you know, they even still go to school. Like, when does Yusaku have time to do his homework or anything like that? Like, really, with everything he does as Playmaker. But, that's besides the point, because, what is, I can't remember his name, but Brave Max is his alias in VRAINS. I can't remember his classmate's name. Basically, he apparently was talking to Aoi Zaizen, and because he claims to be Playmaker's soulmate, she wanted him to find out Playmaker's identity because she had to talk to him, which obviously was probably related to the whole thing about, you know, Playmaker coming to meet with Akira Zaizen, you know, her brother. So everyone kind of gets gathered up, you know, we got Kusanagi, Soulburner, Playmaker, Go Onizuka, Blood Shepherd, Ghost Girl, and of course, Blue Maiden herself. They all gather up inside this kind of, like, I guess, special area inside Link VRAINS. It's kind of really hard to understand where exactly they are. But basically, that's where Zaizen shows the message that he got from the warning, so to speak. And basically, it goes on to say that, you know, is going to be going after Zaizen because after taking out Queen, he only has half of the, like, key code that he needs to take over Soul Tech. And Zaizen has the other half. So basically, he has to go terminate him and take the key that way, too. So obviously, this is quite a shock to Playmaker, especially once he reviews. Because for the whole time he's explaining his plan, they have no idea who he is. Even though, you know, you would think... I mean, Robopi, you can kind of understand, because Robopi was just a robot. But with Ai's mannerisms, you would think they would be able to kind of tell, especially with how he looks. But it wasn't until the end, he's like, oh, you know, speaking of introductions, blah, blah, blah. And then they reveal themselves as Ai and Robopi, and that's when you just see Yusaku's face just very, very sink to a deep low. I don't even know how I was managing that sentence because it clearly wasn't English. But anyways, moving on. So we get this whole thing, and then obviously, you know, everyone's kind of wondering, you know, is, like, Playmaker even going to be able to fight Ai? You know, they have the strongest bond together, and even Blood Shepherd was kind of suspicious. It's like, oh, if Ai is doing this stuff, then you must be in on it, or you must know where he is. But I kind of skipped over, actually, a point that I really liked in this episode, and obviously, Go Onizuka is back. You know, I don't remember how many episodes it's been. I feel like it's probably been a good, like, 30 episodes since we've seen him. You know, and the last time we did see him, he was possessed by his kind of... Not really possessed because no one was controlling him, but the whole fusion to his brain with the AI made him go crazy. So now he's kind of back to normal. And, you know, he even thanks Playmaker, which was a really cool scene to see. You know, you see that kind of, like, gratitude towards Playmaker. And Playmaker, in his own way, is happy to see that Go is back to normal. And you can tell Soulburner was definitely happy because, you know, when they dueled before, you know, Go Onizuka was his idol. So moving forward, we basically get this scene at night where Yusaku is just kind of... He's in that same place, you know, the Starlight Road, or what was it, Stardust Road, Starlight? I forget what it's called, but basically where he was, like, looking out onto the ocean, which was reminiscent of the end of season 1 when he let Ai go. And he's just kind of thinking to himself, like, what is he going to do? What's the right thing to do? What has caused Ai to change like this? And then the following day, everyone kind of shows up to basically enact this plan. And obviously on the side, you see that Zyzen actually went to go recruit the Knights of Hanoi, Revolver and all of them. So you see everyone show up except for Playmaker. And then that's when the Knights of Hanoi show up, and obviously Soulburner has his usual angry face when he sees Revolver. And here's the part that was really interesting to me. Now, obviously, we know that the overall point of the Knights of Hanoi is to just delete all the AI. Which is interesting to me because Revolver actually developed an AI to beat these AI. So he developed this kind of AI that he can control that if it ever gets free will, all its memories are just going to be erased. So he put in a failsafe so that way he doesn't have to really be worried. But there are 4 of these AI, and then he gives basically 3 of them to what I presume was kind of like, okay, maybe we should give them to the weaker duelists. Because the ones who get them, I don't really want to say weaker, because it's really hard to say who's better than who at this point. But Go Onizuka, Ghost Girl, and Blue Maiden both get all 3 of them get a copy of this AI, which presumably means they probably need the most help when it comes to dueling. And then they basically come up with this whole plan where, certain members of this team, so to speak, are going to be guarding certain areas for when Ai comes to attack Zyzen. And apparently Zyzen's body is somewhere where I won't be able to reach it in the real world, so there's no reason to worry about that. And Playmaker wasn't there, and they're wondering, like, I guess Playmaker really couldn't show up to do this kind of stuff. And I know I kind of skipped over something important, but before this scene, there was a big scene, and it's actually my favorite part of the episode. So you get this scene where basically Akira was walking through town, and Aoi is like walking home from school, I guess, and she spots him and asks him what he's doing, and he just wants to, he said he wanted to like etch where he lives into his memories, basically so he doesn't forget anything, because for all he knows he could be dying soon. And basically this is where it kind of gets cool, because it's like Aoi's like, oh, I know this great hot dog stand, we should get something to eat. And this is where the kind of reveal happens. And I saw a lot of people were upset at this reveal because it didn't feel like, it wasn't an extravagant reveal. Like usually when you find out that some hero is like a big villain, like when Sora from Arc V was shown to be from the Academy, realm. And you see Yuya's reaction when you realize that Sora isn't who he really claimed he was going to be. Or some kind of reveal like when Joey was, possessed by Merrick or something crazy like that. We just, basically, they walk over to the hot dog stand, they see Yusaku. Well, no, first they see Kusanagi. And obviously Kusanagi's online kind of avatar isn't different from his real life persona. So obviously Akira and them have seen Kusanagi before when Yusaku and him had their duel, their forced duel, last season. So at first Akira's like, oh, that's that guy. And then they see Yusaku walking towards them. And that's when Akira kind of put 2 and 2 together and was like, okay, this kid is Playmaker. And it made it even more obvious because if you remember in season 1, when Aoi was in the hospital, Yusaku was the one who was there, kind of, helped bring her there and was kind of there for her until Zyzen showed up. So it was easy for Zyzen to kind of put 2 and 2 together, like, okay, you're a Playmaker. But I guess the issue I have with this scene is that you don't really see the reveal. You see him walking towards them, they look at him, there's a cut, and next thing you know, they're in some park, and then it's almost as if Playmaker had explained everything to them. Because the first line is like Zyzen basically being like, so you're a Playmaker, okay. And then you see no reaction from Aoi whatsoever. It's like she's not even surprised. Which, could be a thing. Maybe she did kind of suspect it. But we haven't gotten anything that really indicates that. Now, here's the thing that's, I feel like, it really depends on how you feel when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! Pairings. Me, for example, if a series has a good payoff, like something like Yusei and Akiza, when it comes to a couple, I felt like that was really well done with Yusei and Akiza. It made a lot of sense. With VRAINS, I've always kind of wanted there to kind of be something between Yusaku and Aoi. But it never really seemed in the first season and a half that we would really get anything like that. It was just kind of like they were, season 1, they were kind of rivals, and they eventually had to team up together against Revolver and them at the end. And then season 2, we didn't really get too much interaction between them as well. But it seems like they're going to kind of pay off their small interactions with this season because, I mean, people can say what they want, but that scene they threw in this episode is totally Aoi getting feelings for Yusaku. And, I mean, you can say otherwise, but that's kind of what they're going for. Obviously, at first, she's talking about how he's always kind of protected her. He's always been there for her and her brother. Yusaku tries to dodge it by being like, really, I was just fighting for myself. I was selfish, that kind of stuff. Because, in reality, that was true. In season 1, all he really cared about was stopping the Knights of Hanoi for what they had done. Getting revenge for that. But I think he does try to make himself more bad than he actually was, because if you really think about it, he did go out of his way to save Aoi when he could have just defeated her in a duel and let her, her brain could have exploded or whatever was going to happen to her from that virus that was put in her. But obviously he didn't. And then you get this scene where basically she kind of moves a little closer to him. They're kind of hinting like, oh, she wants to be closer to him. And then she wants to shake his hand. They shake hands. Yusaku's being very awkward about this. Obviously, he hasn't really had this kind of interaction very well before. They're both being super awkward in this scene because I feel like neither one really knows what to say to the other. But then afterwards, Aoi's like looking at her hand and she's like this feeling, like it feels strange. So I think that's kind of hinting at, she's like, oh, what is this feeling I'm feeling towards Yusaku type thing. So I do think they're going to develop that. I mean, you see it in the intro too. In the intro, you see lots of scenes, like really quick scenes of, Yusaku and her bond kind of getting closer. So I do think that's going to, if this is the final season, I think we will get some kind of payoff for that, which I'm really hoping we see, because I do like those kind of connections when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! Like Joey and Mai, I love that. I don't really know if there was really any in GX. You could say Jaden and Alexis, but that was kind of eh. And obviously, like, Yusei and Akiza, I feel like is the best kind of romance relationship that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has ever done. And then Yuma and Tori was okay. And then obviously we had Yuya and Yuzu, which was alright. But moving on from that point, so we got that little bond moment. Now we move back to where I was talking about before, where everyone kind of met up, but Playmaker wasn't there. But then you get this shot of, they look at the screen and they see something moving, and Yusaku is actually in the world already heading for Ai on his own, and then Ai is like, alright, well, time to go to work. And you see Ai and Robapi, they jump out of their little, like, pod thing, and they're flying towards Playmaker. And that's pretty much where the episode ends. So obviously the next episode we see in the preview, Robapi, we already knew this from the leaks, Robapi is apparently going to duel Ghost Girl and Blood Shepherd in a double duel, which I don't understand how it's going to work unless Robapi can kind of clone himself. I wanted to say herself because for so long I thought Robapi was a girl. But clone himself. And then obviously it seems like I don't know if Ai and Yusaku are going to start dueling next episode, but they are going to meet up. So this is very painful, obviously, on the outside for Yusaku. And I still kind of feel like, will Ai really be the main villain here? I feel like there's got to be something more to this, because they've already revealed Ai and Robapi like 2 episodes into the season, and we've probably got another good like 20 to 30 episodes left. And or maybe more. And I just don't see how you can have two villains stay the villain and just. So what's going to happen? They're just going to keep losing and retreating, and I will keep coming back stronger. They'll duel again. Plus, there's so many characters as part of this main force. Like, we've got like 7 or 8 heroes that need to get a decent amount of screen time. So I feel like there does have to be more to just this season than just I and Robopi versus all of humanity. Let me know what you guys think down below. Like I said, overall, I love this episode. I'll be excited to see where the season kind of goes. I feel like Robopi has to lose his first duel just because they make it a point in the preview to be like, oh, this is Robopi's first duel. So if Robopi pulls out a double win against Blood Shepherd and Ghost Girl, that's going to kind of be like, I don't know how I really feel about that. But I do find it interesting that they're finally starting to do these like tag team duels. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of tag teams we see. I would love to see a Soul Burner and Go Onizuka team up. Obviously, Playmaker and Blue Maiden. I'm sure we'll see a Blue Maiden and Akira tag team, like brother and sister type thing, like they're doing with Ghost Girl right now and Blood Shepherd. But like I said, let me know what you guys think down below. Don't forget to subscribe for more if you're new to the channel. I will see you all next time. Have a wonderful day, everyone.